Hello, my name is Mukta Chilkamari, and I will be looking at the relatively new concept of peace-oriented journalism. Peace-oriented journalism is a relatively new concept which has its roots in two documents released by UNESCO. The first was the Mass Media Declaration, adopted in 1978, which acknowledged that mass media had a role in promoting peace, eliminating ignorance, and reducing international tension. The second document was UNESCO's International Principles of Professional Ethics in Journalism. This document was adopted in 1983 and was approved by nearly 400,000 journalists. Its two most important sections highlighted the ethical codes journalists should be expected to follow when covering conflicts. Peace-oriented journalism was an idea proposed by sociologist and mathematician Johann Galtung, who argued that if media had the power to increase tension in conflict, then it can also promote peace. Essentially, peace journalism is a normative theory that claims that the media should play a positive role by promoting peace rather than escalating tensions. This model presents a number of factors which contribute to conflict coverage. Research of conflict coverage on German journalists suggests that the most influential factors are as follows: structure of the media, situation on site, the person or journalist covering the conflict, political climate, lobbies and lobbying group, and finally the audiences. The first factor, structure, deals with a variety of aspects ranging from the legal parameters journalists and media outlets face to the criteria they possess to select news stories. Furthermore, the type of media, whether it is a print medium, daily paper, or radio show, and how much space each story is allotted all influence the manner in which the story can be constructed. Another major influence on conflict coverage media deals with the situation on the site of the conflict. Factors such as the physical geography of the conflict area can sometimes determine if there is coverage at all. The security of the situation, especially for the reporter, and the accessibility he or she has to places and sources can affect how he writes the story as well. Finally, the complexity of the situation can also distort the manner in which the story is presented. Among the most self-evident factors that influence conflict coverage has to do with the person covering the story himself. The manner in which a journalist reports is affected by his knowledge and skills he possesses on how to investigate. Other skills, such as his own understanding of the conflict dynamics and the many aspects of the specific conflict he is reporting on, can affect the manner in which he frames the story and how well he presents it. The political climate of the country reporting on and the country experiencing the conflict play an important role in framing the story. The kind of attention the conflict receives, whether it be good or bad, and the amount it receives can influence how the conflict is constructed. Furthermore, as I will discuss later on, a country's involvement can also frame how the conflict is presented to audiences either at home or abroad. Finally, lobbying groups as well as audiences can affect how a conflict is covered by the media. Conflict coverage is not just about abstract issues, but can also be the direct result of action by state, parties, businesses, and military. In addition, to be successful in the marketplace, media outlets often consider the interest, knowledge, and expectations of their audiences when picking and framing conflict stories. Conventional war or conflict discourse often works to escalate conflicts by presenting them in a win-win or win-lose perspective. While conflicts are typically highly complex and have a number of perspectives, media coverage is often succinct, asking questions such as who is the opponent or the aggressor and how can he be stopped. Such rhetoric often leads to threat rhetoric and forces audiences to see conflicts as us versus them. Proponents of peace-oriented journalism aim not to solve conflicts, but rather to simply go beyond the win-lose scenario. Advocates of peace journalism argue that the role of journalists covering conflicts is to prevent escalation-prone misrepresentations of reality by sticking to three main principles of journalism, which deal with the manner they investigate and portray the story. Peace-oriented journalism aims to simply cover conflicts by being more truthful to the reality. Peace journalism calls for journalists to expose untruths and wrongdoings of the situation, seek out non-elite sources on all sides, pay more attention to peacemakers rather than conflict escalators, and focus on the visible and invisible effects of violence to all groups involved. One of the examples of peace journalism is the Dialogue is the Future campaign promoted by Studio Ijambo in Burundi, Africa. Studio Ijambo is an independent radio station that was established in Bujumbura, the capital of Burundi, as a direct response to the hate propaganda that flooded the airwaves during the ethnic conflict that took place in the mid-90s. Studio Ijambo, which in Kirundi means wise words, aired radio programs aiming to promote awareness, encourage dialogue, and reconciliation between opposing ethnic groups. They aired about 100 programs ranging from documentaries to child programs to roundtable discussions with members of all ethnic groups sharing their stories. The most popular radio program was Ikinyubuntu, or Pillars of Humanity, which highlighted the stories of local heroes and peacekeepers. Another example of peace-oriented journalism is the Aman Ki Asha campaign launched by the Times of India and the Jung Group in 2010. This peace project is a series of videos, songs, and short movies highlighting the peacekeeping efforts between citizens of both India and Pakistan, encouraging citizen-to-citizen contact, and exposing the issues both groups face due to violence and conflict. The Peace Project also hosted seminars, lectures, cricket and football games, encouraging interaction and highlighting the stories of cooperation of regular people rather than simply the political and social elites. The campaign worked to show the common ground between Indians and Pakistanis at the grassroots level rather than discussing issues that divide them such as Kashmir, nuclear weapons, and trade. While peace-oriented journalism has worked, there are some who discourage the concept, arguing that it infringes on the integrity of journalism. It is often cited that peace journalism forces journalists to give up their sense of objectivity and forces them to play the role of a dissenter of violence. Also, journalists often choose newsworthy news and focus on the immediate and simplify the drama in order to sell the story, rather than seeing it from all sides. In addition, media structures seek to gain profits from stories. Peace stories, in the short run at least, do not bring in much revenue. Finally, peace journalism poses ideological problems, especially for journalists covering stories wherein their country has a high degree of involvement. In these cases, stories tend to be ethnocentric and have nationalistic tendencies rather than showing the realities of the conflict. While the effects of peace journalism remain to be seen, the concept has gained traction over the years. Though not all journalists have accepted peace journalism, advocates continue to support the idea, especially in conflict-ridden areas, so that hopefully media can play a positive role in reestablishing peace and prosperity rather than driving communities apart.